It's difficult to describe the feeling of waking up and realizing, perhaps for the first time, that your thoughts are purely yours. There's no invisible weight of societal standards, no lingering worry over what someone else might think of your choices. You are free. The first thoughts that cross your mind are your own, unfiltered, unburdened, and raw. It's a quiet, liberating moment where you realize that, from this point on, the choices you make today will reflect who you genuinely are, not who you think others expect you to be. Imagine walking to your closet and selecting clothes that make you feel comfortable, bold, or just plain happy. You aren't thinking about how these clothes will look to others, nor are you worried about blending in or adhering to an imagined dress code of acceptable style. You're simply dressing for yourself, the fabric against your skin, the color that lights up your mood, the style that feels right in that moment. It's all a reflection of your inner self. This simple act, the choosing of something as everyday as an outfit, takes on new meaning. It becomes an affirmation of self-respect, an acknowledgement that you're dressing to honor who you are and how you feel, not to fit in with anyone else's expectations. As you move through the day, you feel lighter, bolder. You speak from the heart, say what feels authentic, and express your ideas without filtering them to fit an anticipated response. You're aware that not everyone will agree with what you say or appreciate your point of view, but the beauty of it is that it doesn't matter. Your voice, your perspective, your truth, it's all valid and it deserves space. Imagine how liberating it is to speak freely, without fear of retribution or judgment, knowing that your worth isn't tied to someone else's approval. You realize this freedom to express yourself is not just empowering, it's essential. It's a form of self-respect, a vital aspect of being wholly you. This newfound freedom feels like nourishment. Just as water sustains the body, expressing yourself freely sustains your soul. It quenches a thirst within you, a deep, unspoken need for authenticity that may have gone unrecognized. Each time you honor your voice and make choices from a place of genuine self-respect, you're feeding your inner self, nurturing parts of you that were once hidden or suppressed. It's an awakening, a wellspring of self-expression and self-acceptance that fills you with vitality. When you start living this way, there's no going back. The freedom you found is irreplaceable, and you wonder how you managed without it for so long. This freedom is crucial because it unlocks a level of authenticity otherwise difficult to attain. Living authentically means shedding the masks and roles you may have played to appease others. No longer do you exhaust yourself by maintaining an image or playing a part that doesn't align with who you are. Instead, your energy is spent on pursuits that truly matter to you, dreams, goals, relationships that foster growth. You're no longer draining yourself by trying to fit into molds that were never meant for you. Instead, you're pouring that energy back into yourself. This fuels your growth, fosters your creativity, and creates space for you to flourish in ways you never thought possible. The sense of ease, the lifting of invisible weights, brings with it a calmness you hadn't realized you were missing. The pressures and expectations that used to hover over you like a storm waiting to break begin to dissipate. The burdens you carried, often without conscious awareness, start to lessen as you let go of the need to constantly measure up. It's as if the world becomes less noisy, less cluttered with judgment. The stress and anxiety that used to accompany these judgments, the worry about conforming, the endless calculations of how you're perceived, begins to fade. Anxiety can be an insidious companion. It twists your thoughts, filling your mind with an endless stream of what-ifs and should-haves. These thoughts cling to you, gnawing at your peace until your mind becomes a labyrinth of imagined scenarios and unnecessary worries. What if they don't like what I'm wearing? What if they think I'm not successful enough? I should have acted differently. I should have said this or done that. These worries accumulate, piling up until your mental landscape feels cluttered and chaotic, weighed down by the constant need to manage other people's impressions. But when you stop caring about these judgments, a beautiful shift occurs. Your mind begins to clear, the fog of external expectations lifting to reveal a sense of clarity you hadn't experienced before. Situations appear simpler, easier to navigate because you're no longer viewing them through the lens of others' opinions. Decisions come more naturally, with less second-guessing, because you're guided by your inner sense of right and wrong. Instead of being driven by fear of disapproval, you're led by your intuition, a compass that points you toward choices that genuinely align with who you are. The release of this mental burden has a profound impact on your body as well. Your heart no longer races at the thought of possible criticism. The tension in your shoulders eases as you stop carrying the weight of others' expectations. The knots in your stomach loosen as you no longer replay every conversation, analyzing what you could have said or done differently to please someone else. Your body, once caught in a cycle of stress and anxiety, begins to relax. This relaxation feeds back into your mind, creating a positive loop that enhances your well-being. You become calmer, more centered, able to focus on what truly matters rather than being consumed by hypothetical judgments. With less stress and anxiety, your energy levels soar. You're no longer wasting emotional and physical energy on worries that don't serve you. This newfound vitality can be channeled into constructive pursuits, hobbies that bring you joy, relationships that support you, goals that inspire you. Instead of merely surviving under the weight of others' opinions, you're thriving, investing your energy in things that genuinely contribute to your happiness and personal growth. Letting go of others' judgments liberates you from the exhausting cycle of people-pleasing. The habit of bending to others' expectations, trying to please everyone around you, often leads to compromise at the expense of your own well-being. It's like continually offering water from your own well to passers-by without ever stopping to refill it. Though it's a generous act, this constant giving leaves you drained, empty, if you don't pause to replenish yourself. When you stop focusing on pleasing others and instead prioritize your own needs, a transformation begins. With this shift, your source of motivation changes. Instead of acting out of a sense of obligation or fear of judgment, you start acting from a place of true desire. You're no longer tethered to external validation or approval. Instead, you're grounded in your own values and priorities. This doesn't mean you become indifferent or uncaring. Quite the opposite. When you honor your own needs and act from a place of authenticity, you become a more loving and supportive person. You're able to give from a space of abundance rather than from depletion. There's a common misconception that prioritizing oneself is selfish, but this couldn't be further from the truth. True self-care enriches not only your own life, but also the lives of those around you. When you operate from a place of self-respect and inner harmony, you radiate positivity and bring out the best in others. You become a more present parent, a more understanding friend, a more engaged community member. The energy you save by not constantly trying to meet others' expectations is channeled into meaningful actions that uplift and inspire those around you. Imagine all the emotional and mental energy spent on pleasing others. It's exhausting, a drain that often leaves you feeling empty and unsatisfied because no amount of effort will ever be enough to satisfy everyone. But when you let go of this need, you reclaim your inner resources. This energy can be redirected toward endeavors that truly matter to you, whether that's pursuing your passions, nurturing relationships that support your growth, or embarking on a personal journey of self-discovery. No longer tangled in the web of people-pleasing, you have the freedom to focus on what brings you genuine joy and fulfillment. In embracing this shift, you also find it easier to set boundaries. Without the constant worry of others' judgments, you're able to define what is acceptable behavior and what isn't. These boundaries serve as a form of self-protection, preserving your emotional and spiritual well-being. They create a safe space where you're free to be yourself without fear of intrusion. This is an act of profound self-respect, a declaration to yourself and others that your well-being matters and is worth safeguarding. The urge to change yourself to meet others' expectations is a universal struggle, one that starts early in life. From a young age, we are exposed to messages about who we should be and how we should behave. Family, friends, media, and society at large provide a steady stream of expectations that tell us what is acceptable and what is not. These messages shape our perception of ourselves and often make us question whether our true selves are enough. Over time, we start to edit parts of ourselves to fit these expectations, fearing rejection or disapproval if we don't measure up. This process of self-editing is not just emotionally draining, it's also deeply disempowering. Each time you change a part of yourself to fit in, you're essentially telling yourself that who you are isn't acceptable. Little by little, these small compromises accumulate, eroding your self-esteem. You may start to believe that your authentic self is somehow flawed or lacking, and that only by adopting these external expectations can you find acceptance or validation. This cycle of self-editing eventually becomes exhausting, creating a gap between your true self and the version of yourself that you present to the world. Imagine the relief that comes when you decide to let go of these imposed ideals and fully embrace who you are. It's like taking off a mask that you've worn for too long, one that feels heavy and stifling. Without the need to conform, you discover a sense of freedom and comfort that you may not have experienced before. This newfound self-acceptance allows you to appreciate all aspects of yourself, even the parts that may not align with society's narrow definitions of success or worth. You realize that there is immense strength in being true to yourself, and that by honoring your own path, you create a life that feels genuine and fulfilling. Letting go of the need to conform is transformative because it allows you to reclaim energy that was once spent on trying to fit into molds that were never meant for you. You're no longer exhausted by the mental and emotional effort of maintaining a facade. Instead, you have the space to invest in pursuits that truly nourish your soul, to explore interests and passions that reflect your unique perspective. Each step away from societal expectations brings you closer to a life that resonates with who you really are, allowing you to experience a deep sense of satisfaction and inner peace. This act of self-acceptance is not just liberating, it's also empowering. When you stop seeking external validation, you begin to trust in your own worth and capabilities. You no longer need approval from others to feel complete. Instead, you draw strength from within, finding confidence in your own abilities and values. This shift in perspective makes you more resilient, more willing to take risks, and more open to new experiences. You start to realize that life's richness comes not from fitting in, but from embracing the unique qualities that make you who you are. By choosing authenticity over conformity, you attract people and experiences that align with your true self. Genuine connections begin to flourish as you're no longer hiding parts of yourself to please others. These connections are built on honesty and mutual respect, creating a foundation of trust that allows for deeper, more meaningful relationships. You're no longer afraid of being judged or misunderstood because you know that the people who truly value you will accept you as you are. This acceptance becomes a powerful source of support, allowing you to grow and thrive in ways that wouldn't have been possible if you were still hiding behind a mask. In the journey of finding happiness, many people look outward, hoping to find fulfillment in relationships, achievements, or material possessions. While these things can bring temporary joy, they often fall short when it comes to providing lasting contentment. When happiness is reliant on external factors, it becomes fragile, vulnerable to the whims of others or the unpredictability of life's circumstances. This dependency can lead to disappointment, as you may find yourself constantly seeking validation or approval to feel good about yourself. Imagine shifting this focus inward, realizing that the key to true happiness lies within you. It's like tending to a beautiful garden that resides in your heart. When you rely on others to care for this garden, you're left hoping that they'll nurture it, that they'll water its flowers and protect it from weeds. But people are fallible. They may be too preoccupied with their own gardens, or they may not know how to care for yours. When you take responsibility for your own happiness, however, you ensure that this inner garden receives the care and attention it deserves. You become the gardener, the one who tends to your well-being with compassion and mindfulness. Taking charge of your own happiness brings a profound sense of resilience. Life is filled with challenges, moments of uncertainty, and times of hardship. But when your happiness is self-generated, these external ups and downs have less impact on your inner peace. You've cultivated an internal sanctuary that you can retreat to, a place of comfort and stability that remains untouched by the chaos of the outside world. This inner sanctuary is not an escape from reality, but rather a source of strength that enables you to face life's challenges with calmness and clarity. This resilience creates an emotional balance that is rare and precious. When happiness comes from within, you're less likely to swing between intense highs and lows based on what's happening around you. Instead, your emotional state remains centered, grounded in a sense of self that isn't easily shaken. You still experience the full range of human emotions, but they don't control you. This balanced state allows you to approach life with a sense of calm confidence, knowing that your happiness isn't dependent on circumstances beyond your control. An added benefit of this self-reliance is the effect it has on your relationships. When you are responsible for your own happiness, you're no longer placing the burden of your emotional well-being on those around you. This allows your loved ones to be themselves, without the pressure of needing to constantly make you happy. Relationships become lighter, more joyful, and less strained by unspoken expectations. You come to these relationships as a whole person, offering love and support without requiring anything in return. This freedom strengthens your bonds, allowing for a deeper, more authentic connection where both parties can thrive as individuals. Building this inner sanctuary of happiness starts with self-awareness. Take time to understand who you are, what you value, and what brings you joy. Reflect on your passions, your dreams, and even your fears, accepting all parts of yourself without judgment. This self-acceptance creates a strong foundation for happiness, one that isn't easily shaken by life's uncertainties. Practicing gratitude is another powerful way to cultivate happiness from within. By focusing on the good in your life rather than what's missing, you begin to appreciate the simple pleasures that often go unnoticed. This shift in perspective makes happiness more accessible, reminding you that joy can be found in the smallest of moments. One of the most rewarding aspects of this journey is discovering that happiness is abundant and readily available. It's in the beauty of a sunrise, in the laughter shared with a friend, in the quiet moments of reflection. When you learn to find happiness within yourself, you realize that you don't need grand achievements or external validation to feel fulfilled. Happiness becomes a natural byproduct of living in alignment with your values, doing what you love, and embracing the life you have with gratitude and open-heartedness. As you embark on this journey of self-discovery, you'll find that each step forward brings a new layer of joy and fulfillment. Embracing who you are, nurturing your own happiness, and freeing yourself from the weight of others' opinions creates a life rich in authenticity, peace, and inner strength. This process isn't always easy, but each small act of self-respect and self-acceptance contributes to a life that feels whole, a life where you are enough just as you are. In choosing to live this way, you are celebrating yourself, honoring the unique path that only you can walk, and inviting more joy, freedom, and fulfillment into every moment.